You ever wake up and realize the whole world's been waiting for you to give up? Yeah, that was me, Montana. Spring of 1882, sharp wind straight off the Bitterroot. Everything smelling like thaw and old hopes that just refused to die. That morning, I pulled my shawl tight and stepped down from my wagon onto the crusted dirt outside Darby's general store at High. Like I owned the place, even if half the town whispered I was too old for everything. Love, marriage, babies, dreams, whatever. 41 and supposedly past my prime, or so they like to tell me. But you know what? I was done listening. I'd lost my husband 5 winters, backlogging accident, quick and brutal, and with him, the last whisper of a child we never got to hold. I sold what I could, moved out here with just enough money for a patch of land and a will made of iron, figuring if nothing else, I could at least prove everybody wrong. Ranch life is a cold, lonely teacher, let me tell you. Some mornings I think I heard his boots on the porch, and then just wind. Anyway, that day in the store, Ruth calls out, "Morning, Miss Sutton," like everything's normal. I nod, keep moving, flour, salt, rope. You know how it goes on. The bell behind me rings, and in comes a man, big as a barn door, boots clinking, coat dusty as the road. Hat down low, face cut by the sun, and the kind of blue eyes that only come from years staring across wide land. He asked the storekeeper for fence nails, voice deep, steady, not the sort that wastes breath. "Boxes came in yesterday, Elijah," the storekeeper says. Yeah, Elijah. Harrow folks talk about him. Ex-cavalry, worked the McAllister Ranch, fought the war, never married, all that legend stuff. But the way his eyes met mine, I noticed, even if I tried to pretend otherwise. Out front, I was tying up a sack, fighting the rope, when I heard him behind me. "Need a hand with that?" he asked, not pushy, just matter of fact. "I've got it," I told him, but not mean. "Saw you riding up from the North Road. That your land by the creek? Good grass out there." I shrugged. "That's why I bought it." He just nodded, like he understood everything I didn't say. "You up there alone? I can handle myself." He gave this little smilino judgment, just respect. "That's rare." "I believe you," he said, then walked off like it cost him nothing to let me be. That night, alone by my fire, I kept thinking about that look, like he'd really seen me, not just the woman everyone else pitied. The wind outside howled and the walls creaked, and for the first time in a long time, I wondered if maybe, just maybe, I wasn't as invisible as I felt. A week later, storm slammed and rain thick enough to drown the roads, wind snapping branches like twigs. My barn roof cracked straight through. Next morning, I was up on a ladder, hammer slipping in my cold hands, when hoofbeats thundered in. There he was, Elijah off his horse, rain streaming down his coat. "Heard the storm hit hard up here. Thought you might need help." "Didn't ask for any," I said, but he was already steadying the ladder, working beside me. No questions, no pride. When my hammer slipped, he caught my waist, firm and gentle, no drama. We patched that roof together, soaked to the bone. By noon, I handed him coffee. "You don't talk much," I said. He shrugged. "I say what matters." "And what matters to you?" He looked at me. I looked. "That you're not alone up here." My throat tightened. I didn't answer. I've been alone so long, I forgot what it was like not to be. Weeks rolled into summer. Elijah came by regular. Sometimes with firewood, sometimes just to check the fences, sometimes for no reason at all. I got used to setting 2 cups at the table. One evening, walking the pasture, I just blurted it out. "They say I'm too old to have children now." He stopped. "Who says?" "Doctors, my sisters, half the county." He nodded, like he'd heard this all before. "But do you want a child?" I hesitated. "How did I do?" "Then that's your truth, not theirs." He said it so simple, it nearly broke me. "You deserve someone younger, someone I want you," he said, like it was obvious. "Not some idea of what you should be." Something inside, mesamething hard and scared, started to crack open. That night, I let him stay. Not out of pity, not because he thought I was helpless. He stayed because he wanted to, and for the first time in years, I let someone hold me. Maybe, just maybe, I thought love isn't something you age out of. By June, the land had softened, calves out on the grass, mornings bright and sharp. Elijah slipped into the rhythm of my days, never overstepping, never gone too long. Once, he brought a book of poetry that belonged to his mother. Another time, He showed up with quail and a grin. You ever mean to stay in Montana? I asked one evening, rain soft on the porch. Never meant to stay anywhere, he said. But here, you don't have to be more than you are. I just nodded. Yeah, I know what you mean. We talked about leaving, about staying, about how peace doesn't mean much unless you have someone to share it with. And every night, he made a little more space for himself in my life, feeding the dog, fixing the stove, sitting in my late husband's chair like he was always meant to be there. One night, I admitted I've never tried to have a child without a doctor's permission. He smiled. You don't need permission. I don't know if it's possible. I whispered. Neither do I, but I'd like to try with you. That summer, everything grew. Tomatoes in the garden, fattened cows, the little hope in my chest I'd thought was gone for good. I started waking up lightheaded, stomach twisting, but I kept it to myself until one night, after supper, I put his hand on my belly. I think something's changed. He didn't say a word, just held me, hand resting right where it mattered. I never thought I'd have a family, he whispered later. You were just waiting for the right place, I said. We didn't tell anyone. Not until the doctor could confirm. Not until we'd built a cradle by hand, stitched a quilt from scraps, read the poetry book by lamplight. Ruth at the store pressed lavender into my hand and smiled. You're not too old. Just needed the right season. By late July, the air turned sweet with chokecherry, earth warm under my feet. I took to walking slow in the evenings, hand low on my growing belly, counting calves near the creek. Elijah worked the fences, silent but never far. Some days, he'd sit beside me, rest his hand on my shoulder, and that was all I needed. One morning, watching him saddle a horse, I asked, "What was your mother like?" "Strong," he said, never soft or loud, just steady. She raised 5 boys after her daddy died from a snake bite. Married young, buried her husband early. Never talked about hardship like it was special, just lived through it. Same as breathing. I said, she'd have liked you. He nodded, she would. She only trusted for life. I found myself digging up old letter sisters, my father, a husband I barely remembered. For years, I thought my story was finished, just a collection of endings. But now, sitting with Elijah in the quiet, I realized maybe this was the beginning that mattered. Then let's make sure it's a long one, he said, hand warm at my neck. As autumn drew in, Elijah made a rocking chair from maple, smooth as honey. One afternoon, he brought me a shawl, soft and dark red. It's for winter, he said, for holding our child, for telling the stories you've kept quiet too long. No one's ever thought of me that way, I told him. You've lived them. That's what makes them worth hearing, he said. First frost hit early. I felt the baby flutter under the cottonwoods, breath catching. That night, I told Elijah. He just held me, no words needed. The house, the land, even the long road and it all felt new, built from loss but no longer ruled by it. Do you miss the places you used to ride? I asked him. Sometimes I remember, but I don't miss them. None of them had you in them, he answered. And I realized sometimes what you're running from is just the waiting. First snow dusted the ridge late October. Mornings were cold, quiet. I started learning the ways of the land, listening to the wind, reading the horse's mood, trusting my own hands again. One morning, I asked, would you walk the south slope with me after breakfast? We moved slow, stopped by the cottonwood tree older than both of us. Roots so deep, they never let go. I never had roots like that before, I said. Elijah looked at me, wind in his hair. You do now. Then came a letter from Helen, Amy's sister, asking us to come before the baby was born, city doctor, better instruments. I folded it up and told Elijah, no, I want the child here, in this house. He nodded, no questions. He wrote out, brought back Alma the midwife duff as rawhide, quiet, wise. When the time came, she promised to be there. November's wind howled, freezing the pines. Elijah refit the stovepipe, tacked oilcloth over windows, stacked wood high. I lined the cradle, stitched shirts from worn muslin, kept moving, because that's how you keep the fear away. One night, I asked, do you miss the years before me? Elijah ran his thumb along my wrist. I remember them, but they don't feel like mine anymore. We lay in the warmth, house braced against the storm, and I realized maybe the best part of life was the one you build after you think it's all over. December came in on silent snow. The pain hit at dawn sharp, rolling, certain. Elijah fetched Alma, rode through ice and cold like the devil was after him. Labor lasted all day and night, fire flickering, Elijah never leaving my side. When the cry finally came thin, Perfect Eye broke, weeping into the silence. "It's a girl," Alma whispered. I held her close. "Lark," I said. Elijah touched her back, trembling. "She's got your jaw. She'll have your steadiness," I promised. We stayed by the fire, the three of us, wrapped in a peace so real I could taste it. Winter passed slow, Golden Lark grew strong. Elijah carved our names over the door. Elijah, Kazia, Lark. Most days I'd stand on the porch, look at all we'd built, not just a ranch, but a home stitched together from heartbreak and second chances. We weren't young. We weren't what the world said we should be, but you know what? We were ours, and that was enough. So, let me ask you, do you think second chances come to those who fight for them, or are they just dumb luck? Did I do right, staying when the world said run? Would you have chosen love over the life everyone else decided was yours? Go on, tell me, because out here, stories get told, but justice, well, justice is whatever you make of it.